BREVERB SONAR is a special edition of the superb-sounding BREVERB 2 reverb by Overloud. It is included in X2 Producer as a VST and also as a Pro Channel module. We'll look at both, but concentrate mainly on the VST, and I'll mention any differences in controls later. I have two tracks here, one an acoustic guitar sample and the BREVERB SONAR VST on that track, the other Session Drummer 3 with the old Zepp Dry kit loaded. I have the BREVERB SONAR Pro Channel module on that track. Let's take a quick look at the VST interface first. To the left, and hidden until the Show Preset button has been clicked on, is the preset area where presets can be managed using the right-click menu. They are stored in banks of 128 presets, and once a bank is full, a new one can be created by right-clicking in the bank area at the top or clicking on the plus icon. To load a preset, first click the required bank in the bank list at the top and highlight the preset name in the presets list and click down the load button. The current loaded preset is displayed at the top left, and if changes have been made, an asterisk to the right of the name indicates this. To the left of the interface is the input meter and fader. Use this to ensure that BREVERB SONAR isn't overloaded. Reducing the fader reduces the input signal entering the reverb chain. Its current level is displayed just above the fader. To the right are the dry and wet faders. These control the mix of the dry signal that passes through unaffected and the wet processed signal. The meter to the right indicates the current output level. Beneath each of these are two horizontal sliders for controlling the position of the relevant output in the stereo field. The top fader is the left-hand channel. The bottom one controls the right-hand signal. By default, they are both panned fully to their respective sides, but can be adjusted to suit. In the center top of the interface, we find the algorithm selector. There are 4 algorithms included in this edition: Hall, Plate, Room, and Inverse. Select the one required from the drop-down list. Each algorithm has various parameters that can be adjusted, and these are organized into pages. They are displayed beneath the selector, and each page is accessed by clicking on its tab along the top of the pages. The first page of each algorithm is the main page, which contains the most relevant parameters. They are displayed as knobs and adjusted by dragging up and down on the relevant knob. Beneath the parameter page area, 6 smart parameter levels are displayed. These are user configurable and can correspond to any parameter on any of the algorithm's pages. Open up the smart faders display beneath by clicking on the arrow to the left. These faders provide a graphical level of indication of the 6 smart displays above. The great thing about these is that they can be adjusted very easily for quick tweaks. Click drag or middle mouse wheel either in the display area or over the fader to adjust a parameter. Double-click on the display to enter a direct value. The corresponding control in the parameter pages moves as well. To change a smart fader's function, right-click and drag the page control of the parameter you wish to add to one of the faders. For example, I'll drag the size control down to replace the shape smart fader and the dry control to replace the wet smart fader. There are many common parameters on the Hall, Plate, Room, and Inverse reverbs that, although on different pages, perform the same function with a couple of exceptions. We'll look at those as we reach them. Time defines how long the reverb tail lasts, but is also affected by the size parameter. Size controls how large the Hall, Plate, or Room emulation is. Larger values mimic larger spaces or plates. There is no size parameter for the inverse reverb. Diffusion controls the density of the reverb over time. High settings produce more variations in decay levels. The shape control is only present on the Hall and Plate algorithms. It controls the characteristics of the reverb delivery. Think of it as the shape of the waveform of the reverb. Small values will constrain the reverb wave, so it is more intense and decays quickly. Larger values allows the wave to be less intense, resulting in a slower reverb buildup that sustains for longer. The next value spread sets that sustain time. Instead of shape and spread, the room reverb has a decay control. This acts as a balance control between early reflections and later reverberation. Increasing this will make the reverb effect more pronounced. The second page for the Hall and Plate reverbs is the pre-delay page. This page is called Mod on the Room algorithm, although they all have the same basic controls, which for the inverse reverb are on its main page. Pre-delay sets the delay time between the initial sound and the first early reflections. Imagine clapping your hands in a large hall. It takes a little time for the clap sound to hit the walls and rebound to you. That delay is the pre-delay. It can be set as a time in milliseconds or as a musical value synced to the project. To change to sync mode, click to the right of the value display, and the display will change to a musical note value. It's now possible to select the desired delay as a musical interval, synced to the project's tempo. The hall and plate reverbs both have Regan controls. The hall reverb has two, one each for left and right, while the plate Regan is fed equal amounts of left and right channels. Regan controls how much of the original signal is fed straight into the pre-delay delay lines. Use this control to obtain a longer reverb with more echo. The motion parameter controls modulation between the delay lines, while depth, which is not present on the plate reverb, sets the amount of modulation. Use these controls to make the reverb tail more dynamic and less metallic sounding. There is a frequency page for each reverb type, although the number of controls on each varies. The controls on these pages are used to control how the reverb responds at different frequencies. In a real room, high frequencies are absorbed much easier and quicker than bass frequencies. The controls on these pages allow us to control that behavior. The hall and plate reverb have more options for this than the room, and inverse reverbs, which are much simpler. In the hall and plate algorithms, high and low set the time for the high and low frequency reverb times as a multiplier of the main reverb time. 0.5, for example, will make the reverb time half that of the main reverb. Both these reverbs have a high-frequency control, and the hall reverb also has a low-frequency control, which define the high and low-frequency crossover points respectively. Low cut on the hall reverb sets the frequency below which no reverb is added. This can help to avoid the bass end rumbling on some material. High and low in the room and inverse algorithms set the frequency over and under which the reverb is attenuated. Damping on all three reverbs controls how much absorption of high frequencies takes place. As well as the reverb controls, there is a page for post-reverb EQ that can be turned on or off using the switch on the Page tab. This EQ is common to all of the reverbs. The EQ is a two-band EQ. Each band can have its center frequency adjusted from 40 Hz to 20 kHz, has up to 18 dB of cut or boost, and an adjustable Q. In normal use, the filters are regular bell or peak filters but can be changed using the Q control. If the Q control on EQ1 is set to its minimum, filter 1 changes into a low shelf filter, while turning it to its maximum changes the filter to a high pass filter. On EQ2, minimum changes it to a high shelf, while maximum changes it to a low pass filter. The display beneath the Q control reflects these settings. Now let's take a look at the Pro Channel version. Preset selection is made by either clicking on the left and right arrows to step through them, or by clicking on the preset name, which will reveal a preset list, where a direct selection can be made from. The reverb type selection is made by clicking on the drop-down and choosing the required algorithm from the list. There are fewer controls available to tweak on the Pro Channel version, but each reverb type has up to 6 of the more important parameters available. They correspond to the same functions as those in the VST version. At the bottom are the dry and wet sliders for controlling those levels. Let's have a listen to it. An acoustic guitar track first with the VST version inserted in the effects bin. It will start with an acoustic guitar preset, which I'll then bypass so you can hear the subtlety of the reverb. Then I'll demonstrate the way the dry and wet pan controls work. First, I'll reduce the dry signal and move the reverb in the stereo field, then increase the dry and move that so that the dry is one side and wet signal the other. Now we'll listen to it on a snare drum, where it is inserted in the Pro Channel. First is a snare plate preset. I'll reduce the wet to a more subtle level, then switch to an inverse preset where you'll hear the reversed reverb sound like a drum roll. That's BREVERB SONAR, a great sounding reverb.